We transition to the hardwood. It's not great right now for Baylor. In the next segment, we'll tell you, how bad it is right now. But as we stand here in late January, it's not great for the Bears right now. It's not great for Scott Drew's team. Worst loss of the season on Sunday against a mediocre TCU team at home. And now I'm all kinds of worried for these next couple of games. You know why I'm so worried, Baylor fans? Because they're all winnable. Kansas State at home. They're in some type of way right now. They're trying to scrounge up money to fire their coach. And then Utah on the road. Team you already beat by 25. Should be easy. And then BYU on the road. A place where it's a very tough environment, and I've got a sneaky feeling they're going to be desperate for a win. I'm just going to talk myself into worry here. I really am. And after watching that game on Sunday against TCU, when they were successful in the first half, I had one thing in mind that I'm like, this is going to be a topic of discussion this week on Locked On. I'm going to talk about how if Baylor makes this change, they're going to start rolling again. And then the second half happened, and I jotted down about 6 changes that they need to make. And that's just the ones that I know of. But I think most of you watch that team, even those of you who know ball, which people have told me I know ball. John Jacobs has told me I know ball in no certain terms, He's kind of said it. He's implied it. So even those of you who really watch this team and watch college basketball a ton, you watched it on Sunday and you're like, I'm kind of running out of answers here. There's a lot of issues. And the overarching thing is they're not gelling. It's just not being put together because we know there's talent here. Like Jeremy Roach's talent doesn't just evaporate. Jaden Nunn's talent doesn't just evaporate. VJ Edgecombe his talent doesn't just go missing for most of the game. It's a cohesive thing. There are 5 players out there. They're not one team. I'll go back to a Duke thing, a Mike Krzyzewski thing for a bunch of years. 5 fingers, right? Open hand slap, it'll hurt, but it's not going to do much. It's not going to win you many fights. But if those 5 fingers, those 5 players come together and make a fist, you're going to win a lot more fights. You might knock down some weak teams with a slap, an open hand slap. 5 players, you just got more talent, you're going to beat them. But when you face the big boys, you're not beating them with a slap. You got to beat them with a punch, and you got to beat them with a good punch. You've got to come together and play well and put in that effort for 40 minutes. And Baylor does not put out an effort as a team for 40 minutes. They don't do it. I'm just calling it the way we see it. We all see it. There's not enough effort out there right now, and there's not enough cohesiveness. They're not playing as a team. And if they are, I don't know what the strategy is. See, that's the thing. I think Baylor coaches are better than this. I think there is a message, a game plan. We're not seeing it. And in the first half, when I was watching against TCU, I said, I think they've made the change that they've needed to probably all season long. And that was this. Rob Wright started the game at point guard. Jeremy Roach started as the 2 guard. And Jaden Nunn came off the bench. With all that we've seen this season, that is the personnel move that makes the most sense. Jeremy Roach, and I've said this from basically game 2 onward, the offense does not run as smoothly with Jeremy Roach running the point as it does with Rob Wright. It just doesn't do it. And the benefit is that Jeremy Roach is, Jeremy Roach is a pretty good 2 guard. Okay. In fact, he had an excellent season last year for Duke as a 2 guard. And he comes into Baylor and he told Jeff Goodman before the season, he says, I'm the point guard. And I applauded him at the time. I said, okay, that's the kind of leadership this team needs. Someone who comes in and says, I'm going to be the guy. You guys get on my back. But the more it's gone on, the more it just feels like Jeremy Roach wants to be the point guard no matter what. And Baylor spent a lot of money to get him here. And he's not the best point guard on the team. Rob Wright's the best point guard on the team. And Rob did not have a great second half. He didn't shoot the ball all that well, but you guys see it. The offense works better. People are moving more. There's more movement to the entire offense when Rob Wright is running the show. Jaden Nunn. I said it after the first week, probably 3 or 4 games into the season. I said, this guy's going to be an all Big 12 guy this year, and he's going to be your best three-point shooter. Neither of those things are going to happen. He might become your best three-point shooter with the rest of the season, but he's not playing at an all Big 12 level, which I thought was the leap he was going to make. And I thought he was going to be a 40% three-point shooter. He's not doing that. He's not shooting with confidence. He's, again, like last year, roller coaster ride defensively. I thought he played great defense in that Arizona State game, but you can count on one hand how many times you're like, man, Jaden Nunn's really impacting the game defensively. And so all that leads me to think that there's not an acceptance of roles here, specifically at that point guard spot. And it could really screw Baylor if this keeps going. Because you got to think of it this way. You think about Jeremy Roach coming in and spending a ton of money to bring him in with NIL. Same thing we said about DeQuan Finn. When you invest that kind of money and you give this kid the promise, he's got to have the basketball. He's got to be the point guard. Same thing with DeQuan Finn. You paid him a ton of money. Sawyer might have looked better in camp. We don't know. But it became, DeQuan's got to be our quarterback here. Got to be our quarterback. We invested the money. And where it could hurt, where it didn't hurt football, where it could hurt basketball, is Rob Wright is in a very odd no man's land right now. And that is, he was a top 30 recruit, excellent high school player, best high school point guard in the nation. And he comes in here, probably not big enough to go in the NBA draft right now and go high. Probably needs another year on tape to prove to the teams that doesn't matter. But could declare for the draft and could enter the transfer portal. Like, that's got to be a concern of, hey, we need to keep this kid happy to a certain extent. And if you're Scott Drew, it's actually kind of perfect in that you need to keep him happy, and he's better at the thing that would keep him happy. He's a better point guard than Roach is right now. Roach, if you want to help this team, you want to get back to a Final Four, which is such a stretch right now, probably going to be the 2 guard. And be that combo guard that we know you can be. Like, he's a better shooter than what he shows right now. I know he's got to get healthy. It looks like he's got another injury, which obviously we don't want, but he's got to take one for the team a little bit. And I'll give you one more Duke example because we're talking about Jeremy Roach. But college basketball fans, you'll remember about 10 years ago, Duke had an unbelievable recruiting class coming in. Jahlil Okafor, Justice Winslow, and Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones was the point guard, but they already had Quinn Cook, who had been a backup point guard and then the starting point guard the year before. And so, it was kind of this thing where, hey, we brought in the number 1 point guard of the country. Sound familiar? But we already have a good, solid point guard who's played a lot of games for us. Sound familiar? Quinn Cook moved to the 2 and actually set the Duke record for consecutive games with a 3-pointer made. And Duke won the national championship. And Tyus Jones was the MOP of the Final Four. There's already a blueprint for what Baylor's dealing with right now. And when those guys accepted their roles and took one for the team because it was for the betterment of the team, they won the national championship. And both those guys had NBA careers. I think it's worth noting. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. Again, about 75% of you watching do not subscribe. Please do. Helps out the channel. Helps me out too. Ring that notification bell to get notified on YouTube whenever dropping a video. And then wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network part of your daily routine. We have got you covered with the most Baylor Bears athletics coverage of any outlet that's not directly tied into Baylor University. So if you want more of that, be sure to like and subscribe. Ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're dropping a video here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, and sick 'em.